I'm trying to squeeze in a short session right now, and what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to match the leading edge, so both leading edges are just the same. The idea is that first you're going to cover that, then I'm going to put a bevel angle in here on both sides, and I'm going to join the wings with a proper dihedral. And I will not have a chance to correct this later on. So I want to make sure it's right now, and so I don't have surprises in the future. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just cut this tab off. This tab over here. I'm just going to cut it all the way down. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm trying to remove this tab out of there. Okay, so now I'm gonna check to make sure that my virtual spar, which is too wide, I have to cut it down a little bit. Okay, it's just a scrap piece of balsa wood. So it goes in nicely. How about this side? A little bit looser. Doesn't matter. So the idea is to use this piece, join the wings together, maybe tape them a little bit, and after that I'm gonna round off the leading edge. So just put them together, like that. And maybe even better, maybe I should sand off this side first. So I want to make sure that I have a nice joint over there. There you go. Try again. Nice. You can put a piece of paper now if you want to. It's really not really necessary. It's a nice thing to have. And obviously you want to stay away from the leading edge, because that's what you're going to sand over there. There you go. And I'm going to take the sanding paper here. And I'm just blending it in. Okay. So now in theory, after I cut the bevel, the angle here, and I cover the wing, and when I put the wings together, I should have a nice joint everywhere. That's the only reason for which I want to sand them, block sand them together here. Alright, that's good. Now, alright, these wings are ready to be covered right now. However, before we cover them, we need to run the servo wire through the slots. So when I put my servo wire, I want the plug to go kind of like this on an angle here, and but as you can see, the hole is much further forward. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna elongate this hole. I'm gonna bring it back here, and you can do it any number of ways. What I'm gonna do is just gonna try to put the X-Acto knife and just cut it out, rough it in like that. And after that I have this little file. I'll try to file it like that. So like that. And there you go. Now I can put this inside a slight angle. Let's see. What I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to favor it so it's almost at the maximum position, as far in that corner as possible, because after I'm bolting down the servo in place, I don't want to have a hard time just plugging it in. Okay, so the rest of the wire is going to run through the slots. This guy you can probably, I don't know, I think epoxy is going to work best for this job, probably 5 minutes epoxy. And after you glue this in place, you can just run the rest of the wire through. And here you can leave you about 1 inch long and put a new plug in there. So I'm just going to cut this end off. I'm going to epoxy the extension wire in position, and then I'm going to run this wire through. And you can fish it any number of ways. You can come and you can use this slot here, just put a piece of wire through, tape it through, and just pull it through. I mean, just whatever you feel like doing. This will work fine. I wanted to touch some other bases here. This is my idea. This is what I like to do, just to try to keep it simple. I'm just using these extension wires, and you can see I removed the jackets on this side, right? Now, I have two styles of pods. One is the wood style pod, and the other one is the composite pod. And depending on which pod you're gonna use two different systems, right? On a wood pod, this is the plate that's in the front, right? And you see you have the two slots in here. These are made for the control wires for the servo wires to go through. And you're gonna use two independent lines. What you're gonna do, you're gonna probably cut this off, run the wire through, and you're gonna have the wire something like that. You're gonna have two independent wires, right? Which means after you make your wing, this 1 inch lead on a wire is gonna stay separate, right? So when you put the wing in, you just have to plug two separate plugs. You plug one side and you plug the other side. Problem with a wood pod is that there's not much room around the boom and around the sides, and you can probably see that this is whatever room it's left over around the pod. So you have to use the independent plugs on the wood pod, right? Now on the composite pod, what I like to do, I'm taking these extension wires and I'm putting them together, and you can tape them together, right? So now they're like a one-piece kind of deal. And this end here, it plugs into the receiver. Now you can run this to the fuselage, and after you're done with the wing, you can take these ends again and you can tape them together. And because they are 1 inch long, they're gonna hang out some like that. You can tape them together, so when you put the wing on, you can just take these pieces, just plug them right in here on the taped extensions from the both wings, right? And just drop the wing in place and just put the bolts down and you're done. You're good to go. So this is perhaps the simplest way I know how to do this kind of a work that doesn't involve much soldering or anything. It just involves some crimping or maybe you can find somebody that has a crimping tool to crimp the wires, or you can just leave them extra long or find an extension wire that's closer to the size that you're looking for. And if you find something that's closer to the size that you're looking for, then you have to fish the whole plug through the you have to get the plug through these slots here completely. You should have enough room in there, but I'm not sure. If anything, you may want to file and elongate the slots a little bit so the plug is gonna you can feed it through. I'm not sure how long this extension wires. Looks like they're 12 inches, but you could probably get away with I say 8 inches. Probably 8 inches extensions wire is gonna probably be the best, your best friend. Or you can do something else, right? You can run the wire through, and inside the wing you can just leave the wire in there. Just push the wire like that and leave the extension out, whatever length you need. But you know, think about it, it's gonna be extra weight and it's gonna be behind the CG. So you have to add nose weight to balance this out. So I don't recommend that. It's kind of last resort thing. Anyways, whatever you do, just make sure you put the wires inside the wing, and don't forget to put the servo after you cover the bottom side. So plan of attack is gonna be wires, cover the bottom of the wing, then I'm gonna put it back on a frame, and we're gonna cover the top of the wing. And after we cover the bottom and the top, we're gonna sand the bevel in here. We can mix some epoxy, slower curing epoxy, and just put the epoxy in a hole. And this is the spar. As you can see, there's not much plane there, and the spar is gonna hold the wing at the proper angle. By the way, when you sand the bevel, you can use the spar to check it out to make sure it's right. And sometimes you may have a little bit of tough time to put this inside. That's okay. You can always take a little file. You may have to sand, just file it a little bit like that. I mean, we put a lot of glue in there. There are quite a few parts that go together in the section, and we need to make sure that this is gonna assemble nicely, just like that. And it's gonna go to this side, and there you go. So when you glue it, we want to fill in the pockets of these pockets with epoxy. Put some epoxy in between them, just join it, tape it together, and the wing should be done at that point. And you should have like 2 1-inch leads of wire leads that come out. We will not use patches of fiberglass, doublers, whatever, you know, really is not necessary for this plane. You have enough surface area that you glue the 2 halves together. You're gluing on a hard spot, and it's really nothing that's gonna really hurt this wing. And you are also gluing on this spar, which is very strong, very rigid, and it has a lot of surface area on it too, so it should be fine for our purposes here, and especially, yeah, it should work just fine. So I'm just gonna sand off from the bottom. I feel here on the bottom that I'm not on a plywood. Now it's on the plywood. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And when you put it together, if you run your fingers like that, you shouldn't feel any mismatches, bumps, or whatever. You know, you should feel a nice transition all around, and it really feels, oh, it feels great right now. Alright, so I'm gonna deal with this wire right now. I'm just gonna epoxy it in place. After that, I'm gonna take another extension wire and I'm gonna epoxy this side in place. Really doesn't matter whether you put the signal line in the front or in the back. You can see through the covering anyways, and if you can't, or you feel like you may have a problem, you may want to make a mark here so you put your so you know which is which. Put an S on the side of the signal wire, whether it's this way or that way, it really doesn't matter. It just chooses, it's your choice. And I like to use these Q-tips. I just cut the tip off, and now I have a mixing stick, really cheap. There we go. Mix it real good. When you think you got it mixed up good, just mix it a little bit longer. It's usually a good rule of thumb. But be mindful, this is 5 minutes epoxy, so you don't have much working time with it. And position it. And I'm gonna get some more now. And I'm gonna go in there, because I don't really want this guy to loosen up. Here you go, you see that? So this guy is done.